The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello there and welcome to the show. This is the West Stand, which is our new show that's out typically on a Monday and a Friday. It's available on YouTube and in your podcast app, where we welcome guests from across the world of Leeds United, commentators, journalists, ex-players, that sort of thing. My name is Dean Smith and with me is Michael Normanton.
Hello.
But before we get into the show, we need to tell you a little bit about NordVPN. Now, I've never done this read before. Michael, tell me.
I'm an expert, thankfully.
Well, exactly. Thank God you're here, because I don't know anything about VPNs. Tell me.
Well, what do you want to know? What are they for?
Yeah, what does it stand for?
Virtual private network.
And what do you use it for?
Connecting to stuff so you can be anywhere in the world virtually. And that's good for accessing things like football.
Yes.
If you were wanting to avoid Don Goodman, for example, and wanted to watch a club TV station. If a game was on like ITV, for example, and you wanted to watch that and you weren't in the country, it'd be good for that. It's also good if you're in cafes and stuff and you want to use something that would protect your data.
Right, so it means that you can be completely invisible in said cafe?
Yes. In an internet sense.
Okay, right.
You
so
will be sat there still.
You don't just blur into the background
want
if you
to
switch this
missell it.
on. Okay, that's fair enough. So say if you were in Bulgaria today and you wanted to watch Leeds United 7, Cardiff City 0, you could switch your VPN on and get LUTV.
But if you're already in Bulgaria, you'd be able to buy it anyway.
No, you're going to Italy. The VPN sending you to it.
I'm really confused now.
All
but
right,
yeah.
cool.
But if you're, you can go where you want is the gist of it.
So if you go to nordvpn.com/TSB, you will find a fantastic discount in there where you get an additional 4 months on top of your already discounted 2-year plan. And it's risk-free too, as Nord offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. Right, so it is now time to introduce our guest from the Yorkshire Evening Post. It is Graham Smith. Hi, Graham.
Hello.
Thanks for sitting through that with us. You're fresh from Farke's press conference. What was the mood like there?
Cheesecake all round. I think he was cock a hoop. Obviously, I mean, he never gets too high, he never gets too low. But you could tell that inside he was absolutely purring over that. That's the kind of thing that this Leeds United team should do, really, to a lot of teams in this division. We just didn't expect it today, and the juxtaposition of the Burnley game being the worst game any of us have ever had to endure, and then this, one of the best games I think most people have ever seen from a Leeds United perspective, was just so satisfying. What a great turnaround from such a turgid start to the week.
And Burnley have drawn 0-0 again.
Yeah, well, and it almost says, well, we know now who really was to blame for last Monday, and it wasn't Leeds United.
I feel like people have been frustrated with Farke for not doing this before, which is possibly unfair because we've not lost at home in such a long time. I've almost forgotten it's a possibility. So why did it happen today? What exactly has changed? Because it felt like we've had the ability to do this and the players to do this for a while now, but then today it just felt like someone had just gone, do you know what? Fuck it. just try and score as many as you can.
Brendan Aronson, we asked him that question after the game, and he felt that it just clicked. He felt that they almost just flowed today. You know, everything just flowed. You can't even really say, I mean, yes, they were clinical. They scored 7 goals, but they still missed quite a few chances. And Jack Alnwick in the Cardiff goal, he was brilliant. Like, he was man of the match for them. Made some great stops. It could have genuinely been double figures, but they seem to find space really, really well today. The Cardiff boss, Omar Riza, he really lamented his team's lack of desire in transition moments. So when they gave the ball away, and they did so really cheaply, they didn't do enough to get back and fill spaces and block passing lanes and that kind of thing. And Leeds just, some of the one-touch stuff, you know, how many times did Rothwell or Firpo or Aronson or Tanaka poke the ball first time into a player in space ahead of them, and suddenly Leeds were away into a big area that they could play in. And then when they got to the final third, I mean, the difference that Junior Firpo makes offensively on the left. You know, Byram's been terrific. No one can really criticise him. He's been really solid. But Firpo just adds so much more danger. And that was 3 assists, was it?
It was 3 assists. And that felt like the first sign today that Farke was going for it, that with those 2 changes from Burnley, with Gruev and Byram coming out, those 2 coming in. I also saw from the press conference some news was coming in through the match ball that we were doing, where Farke said that he would have liked to have been a striker tonight.
He would have liked to. He said he'd love to play in this team because he played in teams where the ball got sent long over his head and he had to win second balls or head a lot of footballs. Whereas in this team, you're basically running into the 6-yard box and the ball's just being delivered across you from left and right. You just have to, as he said, pass it in from 5 yards. So, I mean, if you were advertising your team to say a striker, you know, it would be the perfect advert, really. But it's also the perfect advert or perfect argument to say this team doesn't need a striker right now.
You just need someone who can stand in the 6-yard box and tap it in. It's basically, because we were saying it's just how we've been scoring goals, isn't it? Like Sheffield Wednesday and Norwich, we opened the scoring with that same goal, didn't we, essentially?
Yeah, you basically get one of your wingers into the channel, he squares it, and the other winger or someone else crashes the box. And they've got such a great thing going, James and Solomon, haven't they? The fact that the wingers are linking up so repeatedly with the same move and teams just can't stop it. But Dan James was unbelievable. I mean, is he the best player not only in the squad but in the division this season?
Quite possibly, I think. We were saying just what a complete pain in the arse he would be to play against as well. You don't get a second's rest either. If he's defending against you or running at you, it is just non-stop. And to see him go off must feel like a bit of a treat, other than Nonto comes on and scores within about 30 seconds. But yeah, I feel like he's just a nightmare to play against. I noticed I don't know if this was just because of the space we were being afforded, but a lot more shots from outside the box today as well. It felt like, because Pirot had a couple, Dan James had loads. It felt like he was just getting it, turning inside, shooting.
He had 6 in the first half.
Yeah. So I feel like it maybe having that variation probably creates space for us as well, because it means if you realise a team might actually shoot, you then have to defend it a bit differently. Whereas if you know it's going side to side all the time, you can essentially sit back more.
Do you know who's had by far and away the most shots from outside the box in the division this season?
Player or the team?
Cardiff?
Leeds United.
Really?
By a distance. Last time I checked, I wrote about it after Tanaka scored the goal against Hull, and Farke said they would need more shots and more goals from distance to get where they needed to go this season. So I looked at the numbers, and they'd had 26 more shots from outside the box than second place Burnley. And nobody's it was a shock to me as well. Like, I couldn't quite believe it, because I thought they never shoot from distance, but they do, and it's mostly Dan James. Dan James, Gnonto are always shooting from distance. Aronson as well, but with a lot kind of less luck.
Is that maybe just a byproduct of us just having so many shots that it just happens to be that there's more outside of the box?
They just have so much of the ball, I think. But James backs himself relentlessly on either foot. You know, there was that one today where he shot once with his right foot. It came straight back to him, and he shot with his left foot.
Yeah. And they deflected wide, didn't it, in the end? It was actually quite a badly hit shot, but it almost went in.
But he so deserved his goal when he got it, which of course came from about 3 yards, ironically. But yeah, they were just, I mean, you could just go through the team today. They're just sensational.
Brilliant from back to front. And at one point we were talking on the match ball, when the fourth goal went in, all 4 of the starting attackers had scored. So Pirou, Aronson, James, Solomon, and then Gnonto came on, scored. And if Ramazani had took that goal away, and that looked like a good chance from where I was in the east.
Yeah, Farke actually singled out Ramazani after the game because he went to have a chat with him. He wanted to make sure he wasn't too down because he was the one that didn't score, because Gnonto did and Joseph did. And as you say, the 4 starters. And he probably should have. But Farke said to him, it's more important to him that Ramazani gets a 96th minute winner and a 1-0 win for Leeds at some point than scores in a 7-0 rout. He said, so don't be too down about it. Go and celebrate with your teammates. But what he loved about Ramazani, and I think that was really obvious, it's been obvious, is how good he is at winning the ball back. You know, that when he went and charged down the centre-back and just took it off him, but not only took the ball off him, but controlled it instantly, and he was off into the area. Like, he's another nightmare to play against. And it's a cruelty that Cardiff are that many goals down, and then Gnonto's coming on and Ramazani's coming on.
It's been a real shame since Solomon has got in and really established himself on the left side that we've not seen as much as Ramazani, because I think he's a great player. He's so exciting. He does a lot with the ball. He links up well, and like you say, his defending is really good. But what would Solomon? Is it an injury that Solomon has to get to put him out of Farke's mind, because he's playing very well at the minute as well?
I feel like we potentially have the 4 best wingers in the league, which is ridiculous luxury. You would have to say. Like, I think any of our wingers get into any other team in this league.
I reckon, yeah.
When you look at the bench today and you think, that's the starting lineup in a lot of clubs. That's 9 of the 11 in a lot of clubs in this division.
Yeah.
So much experience, so much talent, game-changing ability. Maybe just lacking a bit of experience in the 9 position, because obviously Joseph's still very young, and up until today he hadn't been scoring, but that goal could do wonders for him.
Whereas Cardiff could only bring on a fish.
Yeah. What was his name? Will.
Will
Did we
Fish.
say Will Fish?
Will Fish, yeah.
Will Fish. Hasrod Will Fish. So with that in mind, looking at our bench and thinking that there's maybe 9 first-team players for anyone else in the division, this show's coming out on deadline day. So deadline day passes tonight as it is on Monday. What can we expect, do you think, Graham? Is it going to be quiet? Are we expecting an Archer? What do you reckon?
The Archer thing is interesting. They think there's a chance, but that chance is only if there's a bit of a domino effect. So there's this talk that if Ings gets out, that Southampton could take him and have him again, and then that would be their kind of experienced one that might nick a few goals, and then Archer could go. But equally, that might not happen. You know, you're kind of dependent on things happening elsewhere. And Farke again has reiterated that it's their responsibility to explore things and explore potential moves. But Leeds have said all along, we might not sign anyone. You know, they've never expected to do significant business. And while people will say, you know, just because we beat Cardiff 7-0 doesn't mean you can not worry about the what ifs. You absolutely should worry about the what ifs. I asked Farke about Bamford, and he was 10 days away from Friday. So Farke was thinking he might get him back in team training after the FA Cup game, the week after the FA Cup game. So he might, but it's an ongoing problem, and you just don't know if he's going to come back and get another injury. And if something happened to Peru, then you're suddenly very light. So I really think they should try and get someone in, a 9 or a 10, or both if they can. But I'd be stunned at this stage if they manage to get 2 in.
It doesn't feel like there's going to be any other movement than possibly, I mean, the Archer's the only name we've heard, right?
Pretty much. Other than weirdly Matt Targett, who the club have said, I don't know what you're talking about.
What is,
it's a really weird one, this. It's a very strange one because we're not hearing from Newcastle that this is a thing, and Leeds United are absolutely adamant, in fact, baffled that it sounds like a thing. And it was the strength of it as well, suggesting that it was imminent and could maybe even be done before the weekend. The reason it's so weird is that it's the very position that you would say Leeds don't need anyone in. They've got Firpo, they've got Byram. Schmidt couldn't even get in the squad today. Why would you spend any time or energy signing a left back?
And you got Verber as well, who's played there a couple of times this season. Like we're pretty stacked at left back at the minute. And Firpo gets 3 assists. It's his shirt, isn't it? It has to be. You
could even play Pascal at left back in an absolute emergency case. I mean, they're very deep at left back. It's maybe the most, well, centre mid, I suppose, and wing. They're pretty stocked, aren't they? Everywhere, apart from maybe number 10.
Yeah. And we on Friday night, Harry Gray scored a lovely goal for the under-21s.
Pin it all on him.
I don't know if you saw it. Yeah. So if Piru's out, we just stick a very young Gray up there and just pin all our hopes to him.
It sounds silly because he's so young, but he was in the training squad in Germany for a reason, and he was scoring ridiculous goals against senior players. And he looked like he could handle the physicality of senior football at that stage. You have to be very careful because he's so young, such a precocious talent, and he's had this back problem this season that kept him out for quite a while. But he's definitely there in reserve if you needed him in an emergency. I mean, what a story that would be. It'd be incredible, wouldn't it?
If he scored the goal that sent us up.
He'd have scored today.
Do you think?
It's a dream. It'd be a dream game to come on for, wouldn't it? If you're a striker, just get on and sort of stand around the middle.
Yeah, would he have been wrestling Piru for the pen? Claiming seniority of the family name.
True. Strauch wasn't on at that point, was he? When the penalty was given?
No.
I'm just thinking, because I think it is Pirro though, isn't it? The first choice. It's been Strauch when he's been out.
Unless he's just coming on. Because Farke's not a big fan of players just coming on taking penalties.
Yeah, Strauch got on the pitch as well, which was actually quite in a low key amongst everything else. It was kind of forgotten, but a while ago we were thinking maybe he'd be out for for a decent period and to see him back in a nice, gentle reintroduction today. That bodes well. And presumably, he won't be in the team for the Coventry game, but you would think he probably will be for the Millwall Cup game.
I think that's a good opportunity to get him back into the starting lineup, and then you can move Ampadu back into midfield, and he can be next to Tanaka. And I mean, that's just such a formidable pairing. But we say it every time. It's so harsh on Joe Rothwell because, again, he was great. Very, very good.
I thought he was great second half. I thought first half he didn't quite get his rhythm going. And it made no difference because we were 2-0 up and in cruise control. But just coming back to Stroud, do you think Stroud coming back with such haste and making the bench and getting some minutes today, do you think that puts a full stop on the question mark maybe that we would get a centre-back in this window? Do you think that's that?
I don't see why they would now.
No.
If he's back and there's no concerns over him, then it's highly unlikely.
Mm-hmm. I think having the extra midfielder in the squad this time around means maybe people can be a bit more relaxed about Ampadu dropping out, because there wasn't as much scope for things going wrong last year, because it was he moves back there and then the midfield picks itself, whereas now actually you do still have Gruev and Tanaka and Rothwell in the mix, so there's probably enough there, isn't there?
Yeah.
And if you're happy, you're always advocating for warm bodies and just getting people in. So if you're happy, I think that speaks to maybe the strength in depth.
I would still be happy with a 10 and a 9, but
yeah, but not centre back.
He's probably fine.
We'll close that door. Right. Okay. So let's look ahead to the Coventry game then. You would think that would pose many different questions than tonight. What's your view looking towards the midweek fixture?
I would say it being a far tighter fixture than this one. To be honest, this caught me completely off guard. I think I predicted 2-0. I thought it'd be a lot tighter than it was. Cardiff were on a great run. Yeah. There was no real reason. There was nothing in recent weeks to suggest that Leeds would beat them 7-0.
Well, we were talking before we started rolling. Was it 7 games unbeaten?
Something like that, 7 or 8, yeah.
Mad. And then we turned them over.
Yeah.
But
so
Coventry,
I think, would be a far tighter game away from home as well. But I just, at the minute, I don't see any reason why Leeds shouldn't win any game.
Yeah.
They controlled the second or third best team in the division for the majority of that game at Turf Moor and restricted them to next to nothing. I mean, well, not next to nothing, restricted them to nothing. If you can do that to Burnley away from home and add just a bit more quality against a far less capable defence than Burnley have, then why shouldn't they go to Coventry and win? And it would be a little bit of a statement after what happened last year when they got muscled a little bit at Coventry last year. I think this team would be harder to muscle in the way Coventry did last year.
They're on a good run though. They've won 4 in a row now of Coventry, so it's good to see Frank Lampard doing well.
Well, I was going to say,
himself.
We've got some old friends. So Frank Lampard, Matt Grimes as well. Did he play today?
Oh, I'm not sure actually. Yeah, because he's signed for them.
Yeah, he's yeah.
So there's maybe a storyline in there somewhere. But I'm with you, Graham. I don't see a team in this division, and I don't fear anyone. I don't see why we should do, and that's not a reaction specifically from Saturday's 7-0, but just a general view of the season and of the division. I think we should absolutely start pitching ourselves now as champions. I think it's gone further than just promotion.
Well, that was a champion's performance.
Yeah,
today. That's the performance of a team that should go and win a league title. When you have that attacking firepower, why wouldn't you win the league?
Yeah, and we've seen everyone in this league.
Yeah,
there's no one brilliant. Burnley are very, very defensively solid, obviously, but they can't score goals. Which is why they've dropped points today. So I'm not massively concerned about them. And the game Sheffield United as well. They're not consistent really.
It is mad to me that they're still there. Sheffield United. I don't think they'd created really anything at all before they scored today. And that's been the case a few times this season. That it's not like they've been dominant and then gone and got the result, but they keep getting results and they just kind of won't go away. But I wonder if those two will just separate themselves gradually. If Burnley, continue to struggle at the other end of the pitch.
I know we sort of mock Chris Wilder with his kind of woe is me. Leeds have spent all this money. They've got a great squad, but he's not entirely wrong, is he?
But that's football, isn't it? That's football. You have the best squad if you can pay the biggest wages. And it's a sad state of football, but it is what it is, and it's better when it's you.
It's not sad today, is it? We won 7-0.
I know, yeah.
It's great when you can be the team with the big budget, just spanking everyone. Can we just keep the Premier League money and stay in this league? Just continue to beat everyone.
We've said this on the show before. Can we not just win the championship and stay in the championship and just have days like today?
No,
you can't.
No, thanks.
You can't. And as well, with days like today, it does give you it gives me the longing to get back in the Premier League and beat some proper teams. No disrespect to Cardiff.
But it sounds it's a bit of disrespect.
A little bit of disrespect to Cardiff. South Stand were giving some disrespect to Cardiff.
They've been in the Premier League. Let's not forget that.
Okay, they're a Premier League team.
Under Neil Warnock.
Yeah. I mean, there's enjoying it and then there's getting carried away, isn't there?
But is that not about, that's what football's all about, you get carried away?
And you can't help, I suppose you can't help but look at Forest today, can you?
There you go.
Thinking, winning 7-0 in the Premier League, it is possible.
Mad.
Even with Chris Wood.
That's us in 3 years with a 46-year-old Chris Wood up top.
Ballon d'Or winner, Chris Wood.
Yeah.
People will be like Rafinha, people going, can't believe he ever played for Leeds. So good. So good. I was thinking about Chris Wood today, actually, funnily enough, when it went to 5-0, because we beat Burton 5-0 when Lasogga had come in for Chris Wood, and everyone was like, better than Chris Wood, this guy. He wasn't. It turned out he wasn't. He was good that game, and maybe Burton were not the toughest opposition. But yeah, good fun.
Very good fun, and it's always fun when you win. So let's close this out by talking specifically about Cameron Archer. I know we touched on it a little bit before. If you were the head of recruitment at Leeds United, Graham, would you move mountains to go and get him? Has that changed since Saturday's result, or does it stay the same in your brain?
No, I don't think Saturday's result changes any kind of pictures, because the depth situation is still the same. You know, yes, Joseph got a goal. Doesn't mean he's going to go now score 8 between now and the end of the season. He might not stay fit between now and the end of the season. Bamford might not come back for a bit longer. Peru might pick up a problem. I would still be going to get one. The question in my mind is, if Southampton say, you can have him, but it's an obligation of X million, and you think, hang on a minute, do we want him so badly that we'd have to have him in the Premier League, where he hasn't pulled up any trees? 6 goals in 60. Yes, he's been in 2 badly struggling teams, so you have to take that into consideration. But is this a player that we're willing to stake X amount of million on in the summer, when we're already going to have to do a significant body of recruitment? You know, they're going to have to sign so many players this summer if they go up, when they go up. And that's the balance. That's the whole, the gamble, I suppose, the risk and reward. Do you want him in the Prem? Is he just a player for the here and now? And can you get him just for the here and now? I don't see why Southampton would be so kind as to just let him go out on loan.
Well, do you think maybe, just as you were talking then, I was thinking, maybe did the Leeds fan base, and maybe just fans in general, take too much of a simplistic view on transfers? Like, I'll go out and get someone, but especially a team in our situation, you're very probably planning for the Premier League. But if you don't end up getting there, then you have to have half an eye on the Championship. Like you said, with an obligation, you're not going to sign that if there's a player who you don't fancy in the Premier League. So are you signing players for the here and now? Is it more of a complicated picture than maybe we think? And you're just thinking, well, just go and get someone and make it so that it is almost a dead cert. Is it more complicated than that?
It definitely is, because the other thing is, he's not going to walk into this team.
Yeah, true.
You know, he doesn't just come in and start. That would be just inconceivable. Farke doesn't work like that. And he's not just going to suddenly go, Hiru, you know, you're out. But it's another option, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and something different. I spoke to Brian Dean a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying he'd like to see Leeds get a couple of attackers in this window so that they were scoring all kinds of different goals, and opposition teams didn't know what to expect from the front line, you know, from minute 1 to minute 90, that you could bring on a completely different option for whatever type of game it was, maybe go a little bit more direct if you had to. And you can see the logic in it. But again, it's a balance, isn't it? You know, can you afford him now? Can you afford him in the summer? Do you want him in the summer as well? But can you actually get him out of Southampton first and foremost? Because his manager's not having him, is he? So there has to still be a chance.
And he wasn't on the bench for them on Saturday either. But was that an injury update?
I haven't had a chance to look through the presser transcript for them for after the game to see if the manager talked about it. There were reports of a groin problem,
right?
But I haven't seen that confirmed officially by Southampton. It might be a very convenient groin problem.
Yeah, the sort of issue that crops up when transfer talk is about.
Yeah, and he's probably sat at home with his NordVPN subscription watching the Leeds game thinking, get me in that team. Get me in that team. As any attacker watching Leeds today is thinking, yes, please, I'll have a bit of that.
I mean, footballers are understandably so quite mercenary, and he will have an eye on his career as well. And if it's with an obligation, at this stage, if you had to say which team is more likely to be in the Premier League next year between us and Southampton,
well, there's only one answer.
It's clearly they did win today. As we recorded, Southampton they beat Ipswich, didn't they? But yeah, he will be looking at that thinking, because presumably he will have, as the Leeds players did, a wage cut built in for relegation and stuff like that. So he might be looking ahead and thinking, well, Championship for a few months, then I'm a Premier League footballer again, and I maintain my salary of, I dread to think what it is, of lots.
Or he's just thinking about pure glory. Just wants to win things and be happy.
Well, they do want to play. They want to play Premier League, don't they?
They do. They all want to play in the Premier League.
It's fair enough. I mean, he's not a Leeds fan. He's not a Southampton fan. Just go to the best team.
But you'd still think that, given the choice of like maybe trying to beat Ipswich, you'd think, I'll go Leeds and bag a few goals and get the love of the Ellen Road crowd. I'm looking at it through rose tinted
and he
glasses.
probably would get a few goals because he's on his 2 loan stints. He was pretty much a 1-in-2 striker for Borough and Preston. It's in the Prem that he's really struggled to score.
If nothing else, he could be a fresh scapegoat.
He could.
I can't believe we've spent all that money on him and he's not even scored.
Should we speculate wildly as to the obligation?
And we have to spend 25 million on him in
25.
25.
I mean, bastard.
You wouldn't go 25.
You
would
are throwing around. You're writing some big checks there.
I mean, how much did we pay for Jean-Kevin?
19, 21?
Yeah.
Plus his wages, plus legal fees.
Plus the court case.
Don't do that again, Angus.
Yeah, don't do that again. What would you pay for him, Mr. Tight? What would you... Sorry,
I actually don't know how much Sheffield United paid for him.
No, I can't recall. I mean...
Sheffield United, he was there, and then he was back to Villa, then he was out to Southampton. He's had some good signing on fees. I don't know what the going rate is for someone like that, because as you say, he's on his record, he's a Championship striker. You would struggle to say he's anything more than that.
So we got Piru for 10
so far.
Piru for 10. So what about Cameron?
15?
A bit more, yeah, about 15 probably.
As an obligation.
And is 15, is that palatable? Because if you do go up, you're swimming in cash.
And if we don't go up, everyone's getting sold.
Yeah, but if we do go up and we spent 15 million on him, he's probably a bench option, as is Piru. Joseph goes out on loan. Bamford does something. So are we confidently spending 15 million on someone who we know is hopefully probably going to want the bench?
I mean, 15 million quid is a perfectly acceptable price for a Premier League substitute. It's just whether or not at the stage we'd be at in the Premier League, that needs to go into a player who starts games.
Yeah, they're going to need a Premier League 9 when they go up, but you don't really get them for 15 million, do you? Unless you happen upon a bit of a unicorn like a Tanaka situation where you pick up a player who's going to be worth God knows how much this summer for 3 million.
He was fantastic again today.
Unreal.
Some of it drops the shoulder, makes a yard of space, finds a pass. Unbelievable.
If you were Dusseldorf, you'd be on to Interpol, wouldn't you?
How was he allowed to leave?
I don't know.
It's really so strange.
Maybe they really liked him because he's a lovely guy.
It's a bit like when we got Rafinha and straight away you were like,
hang on a minute.
This guy's really, really good.
My problem with Rafinha was, why did no one else?
Yeah.
Why was
it's the same as Tanaka.
Victor Orta the only man on the planet who saw this? Wild, absolutely wild. But Tanaka feels even almost better even because of the fee involved.
I will say the recruitment as a whole has been very good.
I was going to say this.
You'd have to say from Ampadu, people who were the more obvious safe bets, people like Ampadu and Rodon, through to the people who look quite speculative like Gruev and Tanaka. It's generally speaking, they've not had many misses, have they?
And even Rothwell.
Yeah.
Rothwell's one that I think has been very underrated as a sign-in, because when he signed, it was a bit of an underwhelmed reaction, a bit like, oh, he's a bench player. I think he picked up on that as well. I think he did an interview earlier in the season where he talked about people thinking he was just here to make up the numbers because he'd been bombed out of Bournemouth. But actually, what a job he's done.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, we're gonna wrap it up there. Are you gonna come see us again soon, Graham?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Perfect. That's a booking, ladies and gentlemen. Right. So yes, we will speak to you later on in the week. We'll have a match ball for the Coventry game where another 3 points is very hopefully coming Leeds United's way. Some more Frank Lampard tears, please. Right. We'll speak to you later. Thank you.
The Square Ball Podcast.